Okay, so in this case, today I want to talk mostly about the user uh, testing, design review, and user interview, maybe is what they would call it. And I think if we get anything out of this class is that we should understand that, design is not something that we do in a bubble. Design is something that most companies do as a team. And if you are in trying to do design for yourself, you need to find some help, right? Having people. I constantly have people around me look at things and make comments as well. So again, next week I want you to have somebody review your designs because you might not be ready quite yet. I want you to have at least some of your color screens ready. I know we didn't have too much to talk about in building a prototype, and we'll talk about making a prototype. We'll probably not till next week. I don't know if we'll get through anything today, but we did do a basic interaction in Sketch. Do you remember that basic interaction in Sketch? So I can review that on how to do that, as well as the plugins that go into Sketch if you want to do that, as well as the Experience Designer, and I can go through them very quickly, and you can then see how they work and then go and learn a little bit more later. Okay, so how about we do that next Tuesday? I'll demonstrate how to make a prototype from your color comps. And again, I'll go through all three. I'll quickly go through Sketch, and they're built-in ones. And then Sketch there's plugins that go into Sketch that build a little bit more advanced prototypes. And then, of course, Adobe has the new Experience Designer, which is not on your computers here because they didn't put it on there. But I'll have them put it on for next semester, of course. But I have it on my laptop, and I have some examples on my laptop on how to use the Experience Designer. It has some good and bad things about it, I think, and I'll talk about that as well. There's some positive things about it, but there's also some, I think, negative things about Experience Designer. So we'll do that next week. So I know we didn't have much time to do a prototype, but if you don't make a prototype, that's okay. That's not what I'm here. I'd rather have somebody review your designs and review your ideas and give you feedback than have them look at some prototype that is not quite complete. Okay, that's more important, I think. So, the other thing is when you have somebody review your designs, maybe they fall in your persona, right? Because that's the purpose of a persona. So maybe try and find them. Again, I think, having somebody at a distance would be a great way to have somebody review your designs. That way you're trying to work with people that are at a distance. The purpose of having them do it at a distance as well is, what questions would you ask them? You can't just send some designs to somebody and say, review this and get back to me. No, you should send them and give them some ideas of what they should be writing, right? There's a video here. We don't have to sit through that, but you can watch it yourself. She talks a lot about user, right? And having user, and her talk is about watching the person do use your prototype or something like that. That's what she kind of talks about. We don't have to watch that. This first guide is to usability testing, how to conduct a usability testing from start to finish. Again, these are about mostly, having somebody interact with maybe your prototype. They talk about what kind of questions you ask. Again, the whole idea here is that they want to watch somebody interact with your prototype. You can even sign up for Facebook. Facebook does a lot of usability testing. They'll pay you $100, which isn't a lot. Usually about 2 hours. So if you want, I think a great thing for you to do, a great idea would be to go sign up for the Facebook usability testing and go there. They didn't, I tried to sign up. I think I'm too old though. And then I told them that, I did apply though. So they don't get everybody. If you don't fit into their mold maybe that they're trying to find, then they're not going to hire you. But again, it was $100. We drive up to Facebook headquarters. It was like on a Monday or a Tuesday. I don't remember. It was like from 10 to 12. They videotape you interacting with Facebook or whatever. I don't know what they're testing, but they video. That says in the description that they videotape you and so on. But you know, you might fall within there. I think that's cool. Maybe when I told them how old I was, but you might fit in there, and so you might want to sign up. How do you find it? I don't know. I got an email from it, I believe. Maybe I can find the email. Or you just search online, maybe, and find, you know, Google. I'll look in my email and see if I can find the link that I had. But I think you all would be, you know, interesting to go. Hey, you get $100. They give you the gift card, right? The $100 gift card. So again, for your testing, it says create a design or product to test. How do you decide what to test? Start by testing what you're working on. Do you have any questions about your design will work in practice, such as particular interactions or flow? Those are perfect. Are you wondering what users notice on your homepage or what they would do first? Planning to redesign a website or app, the current version, understanding, improving. Again, they're talking about testing in general in this article. And, you know, this is the screening questions that they ask. This is kind of the stuff that Facebook asked me, you know, and I put, you know, that, and then I put that, and then I put that, and then they probably rejected me because I was old, and maybe education level, I don't know. So again, according to Jacob Nielsen, says testing 5 people will catch 85% of the usability issues within a design. Okay, so, you know, just having anybody, I think the whole point there is that, you know, having at least some people test your plan. Write a test plan. That's what we're going to talk about today, what kind of questions you're going to ask. To keep yourself organized, you need a test plan, even if it's casual study. The plan will make it easy to communicate with stakeholders and design team members who want to input into usability testing. And, of course, keep yourself on track during the actual study days. Study goals. The goals should be agreed upon with any stakeholders and their important tasks. A list of sessions. Well, we're going to, you know, I only want one person, but, you know, if you could have more than one person review your designs, it would be great. So I guess I want you to include this in your final proposal. I want you to come up with a list of 10 questions to ask somebody as they're reviewing your designs, and input their responses and include that. Okay, so you know, and so this is more there, so we don't have to go through the whole reading here. Let's move on to, there's some better. So that was that one. This was some good reading here. Again, you can talk to the people. You know, here's how I would probably approach it as far as having that is I would give them a list of questions and then talk to them about it afterwards. Maybe have them look at your designs on their own, right? And answer maybe the questions, and then talk to them about it and try and get more feedback from it, I think is important. And I think that's what this whole article, this one, is all about. You know, that's why it says up here, stop doing user interviews and start having conversations, right? So instead of just getting one-way feedback, I would have them go through your questions first, and then talk to them about it afterwards and get some more input from that. That's what that article is about. Again, your assignment would be to write 10 questions for a user to review. Have the goal questions. You cannot review everything. Goal should be design, flow, product. So, you know, you should ask open-ended questions so that you can, you know, they're not questions that are yes or no, right? Does the user know where to click first? And the person says yes. Well, that's not giving you much information. Might confirm what you already know, but it's not giving you what you really want. You want to know maybe placement of something. Was having the first link for the website placed in the upper left corner a good idea, or something like that? That's the kind of question. And I'd say, oh yeah, the upper left corner is where I looked first, and I decided that would be where I would click first. Oh, that's much better answer than just a yes, right? So here, this article probably has the best. So this is what we're going to review. So that's basically what this article. So this is the one you should read at least. So let's review this. User testing questions. Okay, user testing questions. By running tests, designers can identify problems early stages of a project before they are coded. Yeah, again, the reason why we're making a prototype is so that we can have a plan before the programmer sits down. Programming takes a lot of time and money, right, and things like that. So, the whole purpose of making a proposal is so that we're reinforcing our design ideas ahead of time. Sort of what they say there. So, while providing concrete evidence of what people are doing on websites, usability testing gives compelling insight into why. If UX professionals aren't asking the right questions, they won't get the answers they need. According to usability.gov, a leading resource for UX best practices, usability testing refers to evaluating a product or service by testing it for representative users. Again, your persona. That's your representative user, your persona. And if you haven't been to usability.gov, it's quite interesting. It's basically put on by the government. Using the government. Oh, I got a little extra in there. And again, this is a website for planning projects for the government. And then they have a standard, right? And then they talk about templates, right? If you're going to build a website for the government, what kind of template you need and so on. So if you've never been here, what a great website to just learn and read from and see templates. Right? I think I showed you the national park template, right? Didn't we talk about that in one of the classes? I think so. Okay, so if you haven't been there, that would be a good resource. In any successful user experience study, UX professionals need to write questions that will provide insight into improve their website or move a project forward. UX professionals should put a lot of thought into these questions so that they can trust the results and use them to guide future decision making. So again, think about the questions. It's rather important. And the questions could be change according to what you're doing. Of course, if it's an app, it would probably be different than a website and so on. Quantitative testing. U.S. professionals should incorporate qualitative testing. Studies that are qualitative in nature generate data about behaviors or attitudes based on observing them directly, whereas in quantitative studies, the data about the behavior, attitudes, and questions are gathered indirectly through a measurement or instrument such as survey analytics tool, according to Nielsen Norman Group. Again, they have 5 to 7 participants. I think the last reading they said at least 5, right? Oh, here it is. 5. The same. This is the same 580%. Ask the right question. Understanding the areas of the product that needed answers. Okay, so what in your design, I think you should think about this, what in your design is important to the product itself? Think of the goal that you want them to go. Does the user get to the phone number to call you? Do they put the product in the cart? No. So on. Things like that you can ask. In order to ask the right questions in your petition, you should first have to know what questions the business needs answered. The right questions aren't just any questions. They are questions that will help you and your team move forward. So your first question should actually be one you ask yourself, what do I want to learn, in addition to helping you figure out? That's what I'm trying to say. Think of the goals in mind when you're writing a question. What do I want to learn? Can they get to the product? Can they see the phone number? Do they, I think, my major question is, do they know what to do? Do they know what to click on first? Do they immediately go to the search box? I mean, I think the first thing that we do, if we don't find what we're looking for on a website, is look for a search bar, right? I was trying to buy paper for the printer today. Oh my gosh, what a disaster that is, right? Trying to find paper, and I go to, and we're out of time, right? I can't go and order paper. This is a government institution. I can't just go to somebody and say, I need paper for next week because students need to print out their final projects. The people here at the school are going to they'd laugh at me, right? So I have to go to, like, let's say, Staples, or no, what's the other one? Office Depot has paper like that. So I'm going to have to go and buy it myself and bring it here. But you go to the Office Depot website to try and find paper for that. It's a nightmare. Then you go and try and search, and their search doesn't work very well because it's not giving me the results. So those are kind of the questions you would ask. Can I get the paper that I need on the Office Depot website? No, not happening. Painful. So again, make sure you're asking, what do I want to learn from this? I think goals are important. Readability, I think usability, design questions are good. And they're kind of open-ended in themselves. I'd like to see typography type questions. Think of, the things that Gene teaches in the typography class. And the other problem is, though, if you use words like legibility and your target audience doesn't know what that means, that's another problem, though, right? You could dumb it down if that's a word. I guess that's not a very good word, but you could make the writing a little bit simpler for your audience instead of using words like legibility and things like that. Is the text easy to read, right? I mean, you could have questions like that in there. Is it, can you see it at a distance? I also like questions that talk about the environment. Can you see the screen in a dark area, in a light area? That, again, I think I was just talking about that. That's the latest design craze, right? And even the West Valley website is going to that, right? Where you can switch from a dark to a light and a light to a dark. In fact, they included that in new Mac OS. Anybody have that in their new Mac OS, right? Where you can switch from dark to light and light to dark. All websites are going that way as well. So, but the purpose and the reason why they're doing that is they're thinking of the environment of where the person's using it. And I think a question would be good for your list would be, hey, where are you using it? How far away from the screen are you? Can you read it from 5 feet away, from 3 feet away? Maybe it's a website you're using, Is the user, what is this, a meter or not a meter? Half a meter, right? Can they read it at that distance? You can ask your person that. That could be a question. Where are they using it? Here we go. Let's get into the questions. Don't ask leading questions. This is attempting to suggest answers to your user. Best not to lead the conversation in a particular direction. Don't influence the user because you need open, truthful answers to improve your design. Leading questions, right? Does that yellow color make you feel warm and fuzzy inside? Yes. That's the answer you'd probably get. I don't know. Here, how much would this product cost you? How easy or difficult it was to find that information? How easy was it to find the price page? Ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions enable you to give your test participant minimum explanation about how to perform a task or answer the question. User testing blogs say that you can observe as participants navigating, coming up with a solution on their own. Open-ended questions can't be answered with a simple yes or no. That's what I was just saying. They're beneficial because they require users to participate in explanation, and so on. You get the idea. Don't try and ask yes or no answers is what I'm trying to say. Break up complex concepts into multiple questions. When you're covering complicated or overly technical aspects of your design, break up questions so that the user doesn't get overwhelmed. Instead, break concepts up when you're asking the question and put them back together when you're analyzing the results. Don't use jargon. That's what I was just talking about. If your target audience or your persona doesn't know what legibility means, it's not going to do any good if they're, I don't know what that means, you know? So think about that. Ask show me questions, not tell me questions. This can give you valuable insight into how a user actually navigates your site. Rather than solely asking your participants to explain their choices to you, watch them move around your site in real time to show you functionalities that don't work well or aren't as intuitive as they could be. One example is asking, show me where you might look if you wanted a new car that could seat 6 people. Right? So, of course, you know, we don't really have a prototype per se. But don't answer participants' questions. Instead of them questions back, this is introducing new information or giving unintentional clues as basis research. Give invalid session data. The Nielsen-Norman group says instead say things like, that's a good question. What do you think? Or I'm not sure. Where might we look to find out? Right? Answer a question with a question. Don't ask participants for solutions. The best user testing questions ask participants what they are looking for and what they expect to happen. Sometimes participants have trouble articulating what they found confusing. Right? They don't know how to say, yeah, I didn't know what to do next, and they don't know how to answer that. Oh, and that's about it. But of course, this article didn't give us any questions. So what kind of questions would we ask? I have examples from previous students. You want to look at one of those? If I can find them. Do we know where any of my samples are? Did I give you samples from previous classes? Somewhere? No? I don't remember. I'll have to find some. If it opens here. There, this one. Here's the peer review. What is your first impression on the website redesign versus the current design? I don't like that question, but is there anything at all that you believe should be added, removed, or changed to make the website better? I guess I didn't do a good job inspiring them to write good questions back then. This is from 2015. Try to inspire you to write a better question. I think design questions, location questions, you can even ask content questions, I think. Even though content is not part of the design per se, but content is you know, leading it. You know, you could talk about images, ask them about photography, ask them about things like written content. Is the, you know, let's say you have a prototype and you have some text that's written in there. Is the reading comprehension, right? I think we never really got into really detail. In the marketing class, there you go. Take the winter marketing class. I have a whole lesson on reading comprehension and how much it, people. When you make a website, what is the homepage grade level reading? What is the content grade level reading? Eighth grade for a homepage, 10th grade for a content page. Literally, that's what the Nielsen people say. They're the ones who do all the testing. So. You could ask questions like, I guess content, to me, asking a content question is fine. I think photography, is the content appropriate, I guess. I don't know. Let's see, we got one more here. Citizen J. I like this one. You know who made the Citizen J one was an employee of Yahoo. the guy who made Citizen J here. He used to work for Yahoo. He didn't like it. No, they don't have any questions in there. You're going to have to come up with your own questions. I don't really have any answers to those. But think of the concepts we just talked about, though. The open-ended ones and things like that. Okay? So you think you come up with like 10 questions and have somebody review it next week? You can have somebody in class review it. Might be good. Maybe you talk to them about it as well. Right? Or have somebody do it at a distance. One way that you can have people do it at a distance is even do a survey. You're going to have mass people do it. You can do it as a survey. Maybe you want to have 100 people review a design. Just have them do a monkey survey, right? What's that? Monkey survey? You can do a monkey survey free for 10 questions. So let's say you want to have 100 people review a design. You can build a monkey. Here, look at this design and fill out this survey. And then most of it, of course, is the survey is multiple choice. But again, is it monkey survey? Is that it? Survey monkey. I think I'm backwards. Yeah. There it is. Survey monkey. Again, you can do a free. I think you can have 10 questions free. It's a great way to get a whole bunch of feedback quickly. If the people are going to actually participate, though. That's the other thing. I get people asking me to do surveys, and I'm like, I don't have time to do that. It's hard, I know. But that's a good way to start. I don't know. Any other questions? You would ask. We talked about color, design. I don't know. What would be a design question? Overall layout question.
The size of the input field?
Not necessarily an input field. I'm just talking. What question could we ask our persona person or whatever to ask them if they think that the entire design is good, the whole layout? What would a good question be? And you can't really ask, do you like the overall design look? I don't know. The word "like" is horrible. How could we rewrite that? I had people redo the canvas before in this class. How would you ask somebody if they like the entire canvas layout? Do you say it like that? Do you like the entire canvas layout? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I'm asking you.
You could say, how do you feel about the flow of the website?
Flow is a good word. I like the word flow. I think that would be a good question too. The problem is we don't really have a prototype to to show flow. But if you have more than one screen, you could say, hey, going from one screen to the other, are they consistent? The word consistent, I like the word consistent. The layout consistent, typography, placement consistent. I think one of the biggest, number one problem with people doing something like this is placement of objects, jumping from one location to another. So try and keep the position the same. The easiest way to do that is to duplicate your layout and then change content. Don't try and redo it. And what I mean by that is that when I look at your final color layouts and I see one, maybe a home screen and a sub-screen, and the text is shifted, placement is very difficult. So I like consistency is a good word. Think of the word Jean's used in her design talks with you, and so on. Okay, we can stop our talk right now.